Once again, students, to our class of BA Part 1 English Literature. We have completed almost all the poems prescribed in Paper 1, Section B, and today we will take up a poem from Section A. And we have already taken an introductory lesson on John Dryden's poem, Song for Saint Cecilia's Day. So let us continue with the important facts about this poem. That it is an ode, and whenever we study an ode, we know that it is a dedication to someone or something. And so this poem, ode, is dedicated to the saint. St is the short form for saint. So it sings the in beauty and in praise of a saint, Cecilia. So, who was she? Let us read about it and study about it. So, this poem, you also need to know about the date of publication of all the texts which you read. They are important not only for the present, but as I have been telling you, if you want to prepare for competitive exams, you need to in detail understand about the background of the poem, its date of publication, etc. So, this is the first of the great odes written by John Dryden, and he not only wrote it, but this ode of his was set to music for the annual Saint Cecilia's Day celebration. And when is that day? When Saint Cecilia's Day is celebrated every year on November 22nd. So this can also be a question, that when is Saint Cecilia Day celebrated? During the time of John Dryden, this this poem was set to music and was played in the London Musical Society every year from beginning from 1683 to 1703. So this ode consists of 8 stanzas and ending with a grand chorus, making up the final 9 stanzas. And if you remember Thomas Gray's elegy written in the country churchyard, you will probably read it. So chorus is towards the end, when in a poem which is sung in a single voice but ends with the chorus sound or a music of lot of people. That is the end of the poem. So in stanza 1, which we studied in our last lesson, there were certain important phrases and words which had come up. So let us once again, to begin with, focus on those few words, like in the first line, from harmony, from heavenly harmony. So heavenly harmony here refers to the music of the spheres, that is the planets and the satellites, which are moving in a fixed orbit in the universe. So these are large, huge bodies, and when they move, they also create some kind of a rhythm and a music. So because it is celestial, away from the earth, so it is something which is near to God. So it is called heavenly music and heavenly harmony. This universal frame began. The earth was surrounded or framed by these planets. The moon was in the innermost, and each sphere held another planet until the outer sphere which held the stars. So this is how the beginning of earth had started, and in the next line it says that when nature, what was the condition of everything when life, before the life started to take place on earth, when nature underneath a heap of jarring atoms lay. So everything was in a haphazard manner and could not heave her head. The tuneful voice was heard from high, arise ye more than dead. So the angels moved these spheres with their singing, the music of the spheres, and the heap of jarring atoms lay So that means the world was in chaos. And the fifth line refers to the process of creation. And in the line 6 and 7, the terms refer to the four elements. When it says that, um, and music's power obey, and from harmony, from heavenly harmony, the universal frame began. Through all the compass of the notes it ran. And before that it says, then cold and hot and moist and dry. So these are the different elements of nature. And cold refers to the earth, hot to fire, moistness to water, and dryness to air. So these are the different elements of nature. They all came up in harmony when the music was played. Before moving on, you also need to understand that what the poet is talking about, what is the focus in this poem. So here the focus is on the music, on singing, because this is also a form of speaking. Through the songs, we convey many important messages. So Dryden's assertion is that heavenly music created the universe, and this is just an extension of the Genesis that is in Bible. These are the chapter Genesis 1, which depict God as creating the universe through his word. So God created this life on earth through word, and the word is God and the God is word. So the importance of word. And when in the line 1 to 5, the poet talks about diapason, that is the whole musical scale from the highest note to the lowest. It is an illustration of the great chain of being. Man being created last completed the chain. In line 16, where the second stanza moves from celestial to terrestrial harmony, human music started with Jubal, which we will study as we read on the second stanza. So what is the structure? So it's a ode, it's a lyrical poem, that means it has music and rhyme, and it has a metrical structure which is as serious in tune as it is the subject matter. The theme is also grave, means serious and universal, and the presentation is very dignified because it's not talking about any simple creation by man, it's talking about the creation of whole mankind, life on earth, plants and animals. So it is a very dignified subject. And in this poem, Dryden attempts to imitate the effects of music in language which reach their height in this ode. And it is a pindaric ode in structure, and thus consists of short stanzas similar in length and arrangement. So let us first read aloud, like every time, stanza 2. What passion cannot music raise and quell? When Jubal struck the chorded shell, his listening brethren stood around, and wondering on their faces fell to worship that celestial sound. Less than a god, they thought there could not dwell within the hollow of that shell that spoke so sweetly and so well. What passion cannot music raise and quell? So here again the poet continues to talk about the power of music, that what power does the music have. This we all must have experienced, that whenever we listen to music, the emotions related to that song will be raised in our hearts too. If it's a sad song, we become sad. If it's happy song, we want to sing and dance with joy. And if it's a song of patriotism, we want to, the feelings of for our nation, they become active in our heart. So music has great power, and the poet is talking about this power of music. And the theme here is, as I've just said, the music's capacity to inspire passion. And here he is giving the example of the story of Jubal, who is a mythical character from the Bible. He is the first musician mentioned in the Old Testament Bible, and the power of his instrument to move the hearts of his listeners. So who is Jubal? Father of music. Now we are not talking about power of any music, the music which is created by human beings, but it's a music created by uh, the godly creatures. It's a divine music. The poet explains the genesis or creation of this universe. How is this universe created? By the power of the divine music. And the poet imagines that the frame of this universe evolved through the power of music. So, this is something very important, that there are different theories of the creation of the universe, the Big Bang theory, and according to the biblical thought, how man was created from Adam and Eve. But here the power of music has been laid importance upon, and so the poet says that the music created by the harmony of harmonious music, heavenly music, it brought to the various elements of the universe to make it a compact whole. Initially, every element of nature that lay under a heap of atoms which were lying here and there, scattered away, but the power of nature, which was responsible for the creation of life, it could not function as the planets were in a disorderly position. The atoms of the universe were disorderly, and order comes from harmony, and harmony is created with the power of music. So, music has that power to bring peace, to bring harmony, to uh, make scattered elements come together, and the poet is trying to focus on this power of music. So what did God do? God commanded all the disorderly atoms through the sound or symphony of his music. On the command received through musical sound, all the atoms sprang up at once. They occupied their proper positions in accordance with divine orders conveyed through music. As I've just mentioned, the important creature or the person mentioned here, the mythical creature is Jubal, who is said to be the father of music. So here poet believed that the universe came into existence because of this divine music. And all the creatures from smallest to the biggest size were created by the initiative power of different musical notes. And Dryden here says that music can generate and also calm down the feelings which man's passion cannot. And when Jubal, the father of music, sounded the strings of his string musical instrument and produced music, his brothers and sisters were captivated on hearing that sweet music, and they all came around him to listen to that music. So they thought that the instrument to be something very near God, divine, and because only such an instrument could produce music of divine quality. Then, then all fell on their faces to praise and worship that instrument. That instrument was made from a big shell. It's You must have seen it in the Bengali families, that how a shell is used in temples to bring out that deep resounding sound. So they imagined that there must be some god inside the shell, because such as music could only be created or produced by God. So in this stanza too, as you can see, once again let us see that the poet is talking about passion. Passion is emotion. So is there any kind of a passion or feeling or emotion which music has not the power to raise and quell, means to stop? So here the reference is to this biblical character, and how his music produced from his shell brought all the people around him, because they thought that such a lovely music could only be produced from an instrument which had God inside it. So this is only a way, symbolic way, to refer to the power of music. And slowly in this poem, different instruments would be referred to, and how their power brings about different kinds of emotions in the heart of people. So, with this, we come to the end of the lesson, and in the next class, we'll study further the next stanza.